stop freezing your React apps and use this background trick instead. If you click a button in your React application and if the user cannot do anything else until your database updates, you are shipping bad software. Now look at this. This is a custom course platform that I built on top of Next.js. After a user finishes a lesson, they immediately get feedback and then they get moved on to the next lesson in the course. But watch what happens if you don't use the background trick that I'm going to show you today. If I click on data fetching and click on mark as completed, I am unable to click on anything. After a few seconds is when I get the feedback and then I can click on the next lesson and progress overall. The entire UI is completely blocked because it's waiting for the database to catch up. Stop doing this. Today I'm going to show you how React literally gives us the tools to fix this out of the box and why most of you are probably doing it wrong. So stop doing this and ship powerful applications. So now this is a custom course platform that I've built. It's a mini version of my actual course platform. And if I click on this lesson data fetching and click on mark as completed, there is no feedback immediately to the user. The user has no idea if it worked or not. It's just a button and that's it. We could still show like adding or like in progress, but even then it is very slow. If we could mark the lesson as completed instantly and navigate to the next lesson immediately, that would be the most ideal experience. But what we're doing here is we are literally freezing the page until we get feedback from the database that the lesson is marked as completed. We're using Supabase as our database. And over here, we are storing every single record, every single lesson that has been marked as completed in this table called as lessons completion. And the fact that there's a lesson here means that that specific lesson has been completed. It's great. Now, Supabase is really fast. However, the users are not going to have the fastest internet possible and also the fastest devices. I do think that this is a blind spot that we have as developers because we have the fastest computers, the fastest internet, and we build applications using that as a base. But your users are all across the world and they may not have all of this. They may have a slow 3G connection and your application still needs to perform accurately. So quickly, that 1 second delay or 5 second delay turns into like a 10-second delay because we are waiting for the database to get back. We're waiting for the network round trip and then updating the status. So what can we do in this case? Well, we could use a hook from React called as useOptimistic and lets you optimistically update the UI. So we are going to use this hook, store the state, and then immediately use that, show the status to the user while getting the server stuff, the server called in the background. And that's the background trick that I've been telling you about. This way, the user can still move on, progress through the course platform, take different lessons, but the whole UI is not frozen while we wait for our server action to finish, our backend to finish performing, and so on, and they can immediately move to the next page. And this hook is a game changer. So let me show you the bad code and how we were doing it, and then how we fix it. Mark completed is the code for this specific button, handle mark completed. Now over here, I'm adding a delay because I'm using Supabase as a backend and it's really fast. So I'm simulating a delay here. Over here, I have this handler, a server action called as handle mark as completed. We make a Supabase call here to the backend and we handle errors and then we revalidate the path to let Next.js know that now that I've added a new record in my Supabase table, you can now update the cache to tell the router that there is a change in the data and to revalidate the cache. If it's successful, then we show a confetti and a toast message like we saw earlier. But the problem with this code, again, like I said, we are waiting on the database. So if you take a look how we are looping through all the lessons. And the lessons, in fact, come from page, and we get that from our Supabase database. We literally get the Supabase lessons, then we map through them and return them. We pass that as a prop to our component, mark as completed, and loop through all of them. And then we just look at the status for completed or not to show a check mark or not to the user. Now, again, leaning entirely on the backend state and expecting a fast front end is sometimes not fair. The way we could fix it is by going to the good version of mark as completed that I have. So if you take a look and go to the good version here, let's see what happens. If I click on mark as completed, instant toast message, user can move on now to the next lesson. The state has been updated and I was able to also navigate so that a user can keep interacting with the UI while the next page loads. So there are two things I need to do here. One is use the hook, useOptimistic that comes from React, and then store that in a local state. Now, similarly, how we have React state, useOptimistic has its own state that it uses to optimistically update the UI without blocking the UI thread. So the checkmark can appear instantly. So what do we need to update? Checkmark, right? So this is why we have completed to be true. So we are overriding the database state and saying immediately reflect the completed state. And then we are looping through the optimistic lessons now and not the lessons that we get from the table. However, we still pass the initial lessons that we get from the database over here, because that's the lessons we get from the page, and then update and override the completed status to be true. That's it. That's all we need to do. However, there is one more hook that works hand in hand so that we can perform non-blocking updates, which is useTransition. useTransition lets you render a part of the UI in the background. So whenever you want to perform non-blocking updates, typically with useOptimistic, then you want to call useTransition at the top of your component to access the pending state. So for instance, over here, we have to wrap it with start transition. So we just simply call useTransition here, and is pending and start transition is a status that we get from useTransition. We wrap that up and we use the is pending state like sort of like a loader that we could just show to the user to show a check mark or to show a loading state as the action is in progress. And this is incredibly important to do, and without that, you're going to get an error. But if everything works as expected, then we could simply just show the confetti and the toast message, which is exactly what we have done here. Mark is completed, boom, done. Now, typically in a course platform, I also navigate the user to the next route, which you could do so immediately to show even a better user experience as well. But just for this example, I skipped that part because that wasn't necessarily relevant. And this is the background check that I've been talking about, because all the service stuff can happen in the background while you immediately give a user some state, and so that they can keep interacting with your application. And the most important piece is the perceived state. User feel your application is pretty lightweight. They can navigate through all of it, and that's what defines a great user experience. So I highly recommend you to implement this specific background trick that I've shown in your applications. Having said that, I also want you to go back to your old applications and see where could you implement this exact same background trick as well. This is just one background trick. I have a lot more tricks just like this one. And I know that we have AI now. However, these tricks truly are a game changer if you just have a list of all of them that you could just feed your AI as well. So take a look at the cheat sheet in the description below where I covered 29 common mistakes that a lot of you make in your applications. So if you're interested, download it for free. All right. So why does this matter? Well, because every AI feature that you're going to build, and the reason I was saying AI is because we are all building AI applications lately. There is some sort of intelligence there. And your LLM calls can take seconds, and agentic workflows take longer. So if your UI goes blank every time your AI is thinking, the app is going to feel broken, and you don't want that. So this specific background check will let you show the user that what will happen when the AI confirms, or show some sort of update or run things in the background, so the user never has to wait. The UI never freezes. And if you pair that with Supabase as your data layer, which is Postgres for storage, it has built-in auth, it's a great companion to building AI applications, edge functions when you need them. You've got a modern AI app that actually feels modern. This video is sponsored by Supabase. Check out the link in the description below and make sure to truly check them out because they have been an incredible partner in shipping these applications. The source code for this specific app is also there if you want to check that out too. Now, if this changed how you think about building AI features or how you approach user experience in general, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel. As next steps, check out this video on how I made the biggest mistake of my life with AI agents when I shipped my own agent. Make sure to check out that video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.